Well, there's no question that Democrats have been doing some soul-searching since their electoral loss last November.
There's also been no shortage of speculation as to why Democrats performed the way they did.
Which of course begs the question, should Democratic leadership change?
At least one viral poll thinks so. A survey by Data for Progress, which is a Liberal firm, had some interesting results. 55% of likely voters said they supported or leaned toward Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in a hypothetical 2028 New York Senate primary. Only 36% said they supported incumbent Senator Chuck Schumer, the current party leader. The margin of error for the poll was plus or minus 4 points. 770 voters were surveyed via text and web panel in late March. Meanwhile, a CNN poll in March also found that Ocasio-Cortez best reflects the Democratic Party's values.
Schumer had been taking heat lately for voting to pass a continuing resolution bill the Republicans supported. Some congressional Democrats, like Congressman Glenn Ivey, who came on Rising to discuss, had expressed disappointment in Schumer for that move. Other liberal groups have also called for Schumer to step down if he wasn't going to take a more aggressive stance. Despite the backlash, Schumer has filed paperwork to run in 2028.
And then there is Senator Cory Booker. Booker broke the record for the longest Senate floor speech in history last week, clocking in at a little over 25 hours. During the speech, Booker railed against President Trump and Elon Musk and their policy initiatives. Here are some highlights.
The Trump administration and Republicans in Congress are right now, they are trying to gut Medicaid and Medicare programs on which nearly a third of our country rely, all to pay for those tax cuts. They're also dismantling the very institutions meant to safeguard our nation's health and well-being. That's why I'm going to stand here and explain to people what's going on and how our health care programs are at risk and being undermined. This is about right or wrong. It is wrong to take away health care from millions of people.
Booker has received praise from his fellow Democrats. Senator John Hickenlooper told The Hill, "We've all been hearing the same drumbeat, do something. He did something for all of us." Senator Chris Murphy also told The Hill he's a leader. He knows he's a leader. What he did puts him in a position to be an even more impactful voice, and that's really, really good for our party.
To be sure, multiple Democrats told The Hill they believed that presidential ambitions didn't motivate Booker's speech. One Democratic senator did tell The Hill, though, it's too early to know if there's long-term momentum here, but clearly it was a good moment. It was a good moment for the caucus at a time when people have been clamouring for action. Rob, are you clamouring for action from the Democratic Senate caucus?
Much action, so clamour. Look, he's fine. We discussed this. He can do this. I don't have any problem with it. I used to like Cory Booker a bit more than most other Democrats, frankly, because he was a bit more to my side of things on education issues. He's a big proponent of school choice back in the Obama days when it was not so unusual for a Democrat to be that way. I think that became a more toxic position given the importance of the teachers' unions, and he became a little bit more dismissive of the policy. But, I like that he was one of the people willing to be slightly more brave in standing up and saying Joe Biden's really old, and so on and so forth. The AOC of it all, I think she very well might primary Schumer. I can absolutely imagine that happening.
Sure.
He's lucky that this is, well, maybe he's not. I would say he's lucky that this is 4 years away, because certainly there's time for the anti-Schumer energy to die down. Of course, there's also time for her to organize and prepare and mount a very serious bid for his seat. Now, maybe the party elite and establishment will just so go after her and try to destroy her for doing that she won't succeed or she'll get talked out of it. I think it's probably an open question whether she does it or not, but she's got to be, tell me if you think I'm wrong, I think she's got to be looking at these numbers and going, I might make a go of it.
Yeah, no, I don't think you are wrong in that respect at all. And to the bigger point, in politics and in political journalism, we all have politicians who we like more or less just because that's how they strike you. I would be more pro AOC than I would be pro Cory Booker. He kind of irks me at times just because going back to this is ancient political history now, but
You've got some pre-existing beef with.
Well, it's not even so much a beef. Well, I first came to the US in 2003, and a couple of years after that, there was a documentary movie made about Cory Booker's first run to be mayor of Newark. It was called Street Fight, and it was Cory Booker fighting as the insurgent candidate against a guy called Sharp James, who was a very old-school Democratic mayor, with a kind of penchant for spectacle and also with accusations of corruption. Anyway, I remember watching the documentary.
Corruption in New Jersey.
Who would have thought? And I remember watching the documentary at a time when Cory Booker wasn't that well known, and I was kind of glad that Sharp James beat him in that first race, because I just thought, maybe it was the way the documentary makers made it, which was this very sanctimonious, you were going to restore honour and push back against these kind of shady characters, and I just had a bit of a fondness for Sharp James and a bit of an adverse reaction to what I considered the sanctimony of Booker.
Glorious.
Yeah, but well, I am Spartacus, lest we forget, was the Senate speech. Do you remember later on Booker made, where it was his Spartacus moment, I think.
I totally forgot about that.
In fairly more recent years. Anyway, look, he's entitled to make his 25-hour Senate speech. That was fine. I thought he made some good points. It's not that I'm anti-Cory Booker. I would be more excited about an AOC candidacy for Senate or for anything else, because I think she is a very, very she's actually underrated in her political skill, in my opinion, and in the way that she sort of fits the moment because of social media, a certain mode of communication. Yeah, lots of people hate her because lots of people hate her politics and because she's a young woman. Okay, that's fine, but lots of people love her too.
Yeah, I strongly dislike her politics, but I concede that she is a appealing political figure who does have some amount of crossover appeal, who has people who voted for Trump and voted for her that she's tried to better understand. I think it was crazy not to put her in that leadership position and put Jerry Connolly, who is very old and has serious health problems, instead. Where is he out there in the media making the pitch? I think that was crazy and very emblematic of the Democratic Party's problems. I have no desire to give democratic socialism more say over our government. In fact, I already
join the revolution.
I already think democratic socialism has way too much control over our government, and in fact, some of these policies I'm seeing look exactly like democratic socialism to me, and I would not like to see them continue. But
when we set up the junta, there'll still be a place for you in it, Robby.
Oh, no, just shoot me and be done with it. It's fine. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. On this optimistic note, we end our show for the day. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rising, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, Nowville, anywhere you can find podcasts. I was just kidding, by the way. I do not want to be killed by the junta. So
good.
I will be here alive to do the show tomorrow. Bye-bye.